It's me again. So I've been seeing a few things online lately about like these memes or different kinds of posts um, having some kind of argument against some kind of reasonable gun control. And I wanted to address a couple of those that I've seen recently, some of which I've done in my previous blog post, but I thought I'd do it in video form. And then after I do that, I'm going to spend a couple minutes talking about, I've had a lot of people ask me, what would I do? What's my ideas? And, my kind of stock answer is we as a society have to have smart enough people to figure this out. I'm not sure if I'm one of those smart people, but I have ideas that I think sound reasonable. And I'm basing that off some success that other places have had. So I'll talk about what those are, and then I'll let you go. So, three things that have really been kind of sticking in my craw lately about some of these things I've seen. The implication is gun control doesn't work. The biggest one is probably everyone mentions Chicago and the terrible rate of gun violence and gun deaths that Chicago has. And that is true. I am not denying that Chicago has a problem. Despite the fact that Chicago as a city has some of the stricter gun laws in the country. And that's a sure sign that gun control does not work. But the fact is, someone can come home from work being pissed off at their boss, eat dinner, get in their car, drive to Indiana, which has much looser regulations on purchasing a gun, get back in their car, drive back to Chicago, kill their boss that they're pissed off at, and still be back home by the 10 o'clock news. So don't give me the bullshit line that just because one location has strict gun control laws that has to solve the problem, because it doesn't. It has to be universal. It has to be across the board, not only in small jurisdictions or citywide jurisdictions, but statewide and nationally. An example of why that does work, if you look at Hawaii. Hawaii has a very, very, very low rate of gun violence. They have very strict gun ownership and gun control laws and how you have to go about purchasing them. And guess what? It is not exactly easy to get to another state from Hawaii. So gun control and controlling the accessibility to guns works. If it's universal, if there's no difference in policy if you go across the line on a map. So that's one. The second one, I saw this a couple weeks ago, and I've seen it a couple of times since then. It's like a scene from a movie and a quote from a movie, and it's a father and a son talking, and the father says, "Son, a gun is just like any other tool. It's like a shovel or an axe or a hammer, and it's only, if it's used badly, it's because of the person using it, and the intention has to be just. So it's a tool." So, okay. I will grant you the basic definition that a gun is a tool. But that's where the similarities end. Show me an axe or a hammer or a shovel that can kill 59 people from a hotel window across the street, like the man did in Las Vegas a few months ago. Or show me a shovel or an axe that can kill 17 people in the span of a few minutes, like what happened in Parkland a couple weeks ago. So, is there a difference in intent? Of course, but I don't care how fucked up you are. You are not going to kill 59 people with an axe from a hotel room across the street. It's not going to happen. They don't make that kind of axe. But they make that kind of gun. So stop. A gun is a tool. It is a tool to kill people and to inflict harm. And then the last one I've seen is about heroin, and the number of overdose deaths from heroin. And while heroin's illegal, and still tens of thousands of people die from heroin overdoses and drug overdoses, and then, for heaven's sakes, if gun control worked, if drug control worked, if having drugs be illegal worked, shouldn't there be 0 deaths? Give me a fucking break. Really? So, by that logic, the opposite must also be true, right? So, if heroin was readily available, if you could walk into a store, show them your driver's license, and get your hit of heroin, or name any other drug you want to name. Say, hey, yeah, I live here. I got my ID. Hit me. Is the implication that there would be the same number of deaths due to overdose? I personally do not trust the human condition enough to say that is true. I think if heroin was readily available, or if teachers had heroin in the classroom, just in case of an emergency, I think more people would be dead. So has the regulation and the criminalization of opiates and heroin and fentanyl and all of that stuff like that, has that regulation saved some lives? I don't think there's any question about it. So stop with that too. There's others that I could go on, but I want to get into, what are my ideas? What would I like to see done? All of these will probably not be done because God bless the NRA and the other gun nuts that are out there. But look, I think some common sense things. How about a national registry? Let's get all the guns registered that are purchased. Have a licensing procedure where that licensing procedure involves a mandatory safety class. And you have to renew that safety class every 2 years. The part of the licensing process, we get, obviously a nationalized, tightened background check process that checks for mental health issues, that checks for domestic abuse allegations or restraining orders, checks for penalties, the whole gamut. I hear people talk about the registry. They're like, oh, we don't want the government to know that we have our guns and this, that, and the other. Man, we register vehicles. I haven't seen anybody come and take their vehicles unless they haven't been paid for. I don't know what you're worried about. And then, and I hear all this, the government's going to come take us over. If they know where to find the guns, then it'd be easier for them to take it over. Give me a fucking break. If the government wants to take it over, they have bazookas and flamethrowers and tanks. If they want to take over the citizens of a locality or whatever, they're gonna do it. It doesn't really matter what kind of gun you have. So settle down. Eliminate sales at gun shows. I don't even know why I need gun shows in the first place, personally, but whatever. At least eliminate sales at those places. I think we can ban high-capacity magazines. Ban military-style weapons. I don't think that's unreasonable. ban certain kinds of ammunition, the hollow point and things that are specifically designed to inflict the most damage. And I think a great idea would be a national buyback program. Listen, I think a reasonable response to some of these actions is, what are you going to do about all the illegal guns currently on the street? Buy them back and destroy them. Well, that will probably involve raising taxes. I'm okay with that. I will pay more taxes gladly if we could make it worth someone's while to turn in their gun that's unregistered, or even if they just don't want anymore, whatever, I don't care. But buy back weapons and raise my taxes, sure. But I'm also willing to pay more taxes for a good universal healthcare system. I'm willing to pay more taxes if my students that I teach did not have to go to college and graduate from college under staggering debt. I'd pay more taxes for all of those. But maybe that's because I care more about the general welfare of our country than my own individual needs. Almost forgot one thing. Mandatory 14-day waiting period before you buy a gun. Even if you're already licensed, you want to go buy a new gun, 14 days. Don't think that's unreasonable. If you're planning a hunting trip or whatever, plan in advance. It's 2 weeks. Figure it out. Avoid some of the spontaneity that sometimes happens with people taking their own lives with a gun. They go, they're depressed, they had a bad day, whatever. They decide to take their own life, go buy a gun, and boom, there it is, literally. 14 days, hopefully might give them some time to get some counseling and get some help that they need before taking their own life. So would that solve everything? Nope. Would that bring the number of accidental and purposeful gun deaths to zero? Nope. Nothing will. But will it? If it saves one person's life, isn't that enough for some inconvenience of waiting 14 days or going through a background check? Or being limited as to the kind of gun you can shoot at your range or shoot at a deer or whatever. I think that inconvenience is fairly minor if it can save a few lives. And it will. So stop with the stupid memes. Because it just shows you're stupid. And let's get something done.